On today's show, is Derrick White the answer for the Dallas Mavericks at the guard position? I think he might be. We'll talk about some trades with the Celtics on today's Locked on Mavs. All right, I got Mark Tatum back up.
I mean, if we get top two, that's insane.
Fourth pick is the Charlotte Hornets.
The Charlotte Hornets.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Mavericks versus
Stop it. Stop. The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great,
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave you.
Your team every day.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being in every day or making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And joining me from all the way across the world, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years, right alongside me, the travel titan, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Still on vacation back home in Kentucky, but we both just watched this Pacers Knicks game, and I just want to shout out to the players out there that just have the best takes in the world. Boogie Cousins was like, "Hey, Dallas should trade the number one pick for Kevin Durant."
Kevin Durant.
And then I was reminded tonight of like, man, didn't the players do that athletic poll where they voted Halliburton the most overrated? So you know what I don't want to hear? I don't want to ever hear the players say again that if you didn't play the game of basketball at the NBA level, you don't know what you're talking about, because half of them don't know.
Anytime you can trade a guy that's 20 years younger for a guy that's 20 years older, you have to do that. Literally 20 years. Today's episode, we're gonna pick off the corpse of the Boston Celtics. I guess they're reeling right now with the Jason Tatum injury. Jaylen Brown's gonna have maybe some kind of surgery. Who knows with what he's going on? And they have so many issues that we're gonna go through. And are they gonna have to trade somebody because of the CBA, because of the cap, and because of the luxury tax and apron? So we're gonna talk through some trades. We've got some Jrue Holiday trades. We've got some other trades as well. Peyton Pritchard with the Celtics. Can the Mavs get their answer at guard there? But let's start here, Isaac. Derrick White is a very interesting player to me. That's somebody that I've been looking at for a while. Be like, all right, could he be the answer? Because Jason Kidd, in his recent interview, talked about the Mavs need a guy that they can bring in, that can do some stuff at guard for them, fill in, start, obviously, and then maybe not play as much or play next to Kyrie when Kyrie comes back. That's super important to them. It's what we've been saying this whole time, but it was good to hear the head coach come out and say, it's got to be a guy specific like that. And even though Derrick White doesn't do enough offensively for you, like maybe he'd probably do more in a bigger role. He's playing third, fourth, fifth offensive option for the Celtics right now. But even though he doesn't give you the traditional like guard stuff, the defense he would bring alone, like you want to talk about defense wins championships. A Derrick White, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, put Caleb Martin in there. Like who is scoring against that team right now? That to me, I think would be enough. The issue is just how do you get him? But honestly, like I would be super happy if the Mavs were able to pull off a Derrick White trade that didn't like destroy their depth.
Yeah, no, I would love it. I mean, I think when you the thing with the Jason Kidd comment that kind of worried me some was not really worried me, but because you can only take it for a grain of salt a little bit right now as far as roster construction of what he says, and half the time it feels like he's lying to the media anyway. But the comment of like, hey, we're gonna bring somebody in, and then they might not play as much when Kyrie comes back, and it's like,
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
and it's like, okay, well, Derrick White wouldn't fit that bill because you would bring Derrick White in to play once Kyrie came back too. Derrick White is a championship player. If you could get Derrick White, I think you go get Derrick White. I just don't think Boston's going to give him up. Like, no. I think they're going to probably start. So that situation Boston's in is like they're trying to get under the second apron. Tatum's probably not going to play next year. So it's like, how for them in this kind of like gap year, how can they get under the second apron, which is basically around 20 million. And that's before they even bring back a Horford or a Cornette or somebody if they try to do that. So, they're probably going to say, like, hey, will anybody take KP? And it's like, I don't know who's going to take that expiring 30.
The Lakers need a center.
Yes, they do. They do need a center. And then, they're probably going to move down to Jrue after that. And they're probably going to work out something with Jrue. But Derrick White is the one that teams are going to go after because he makes it like that 28, 29 range. And there's so many teams that would give a ton up for him. And if you're Dallas, he's the type of missing piece, right? Like he's a guy who could play with Kyrie Irving like he played in Boston with Jrue.
Yeah.
Like he's a defensive guy. He's a championship guy. Like you go get Derrick White if you can. It's just, let me ask you this question. Are you willing to give up? There's more players and stuff that has to be involved in it. Are you willing to give up PJ Washington in a Derrick White trade?
Yes.
Because I think that's okay. So if you're in that camp, then I think there's trades out there that can work.
As much as it would hurt me, because PJ Washington's awesome. We love PJ. Everything that he's done for this franchise and what he's been and proven and like what he meant to this team going to the finals last year. Derrick White is like an all defensive guard. Like he is an elite type guard that you can put out there, can fill in a bunch of different gaps, is really good. He's 30 years old. He's one of the reasons why I think that they would be able to trade him, because Jrue Holiday is like going to be 35, right? Like, and he makes more than Derrick White does. I think it's going to be harder for them to trade Jrue Holiday and KP. If they are going to make any kind of trade like this, they may have to just bite the bullet and trade Derrick White. And so that's why I think he may be the one on the move, unless they figure out some way to move those other two guys that I just mentioned. But I think I would give up PJ because I think he's better than PJ.
Yeah, well, in the contract situation for PJ, that's the thing. We've been tossing around different trades and stuff in text message groups with other people, and when the Jrue conversation comes up, it's like, all right, would you give PJ up for Jrue in some type of package? And for me, it comes down to what is PJ willing to sign for in that extension. If he's willing to sign up in Dallas to possibly come off the bench, maybe, and extend in Dallas for that number and all the stuff, like I'm more inclined to keep PJ. But if he's like, man, I don't want to possibly come off the bench, I want to start, I want him, have a contract here somewhere to where I'm going to get guaranteed to get starter minutes and all the stuff, then that's when you start entertaining stuff. So let's just stay with the Derrick White, for a second. So for Boston, if their goal is for this coming season to get under the second apron, then you kind of got to find somebody. If you're wanting to do that this year, this coming up year, then you got to find a team with cap space. And there's not very many options.
There's none.
Right? So you have Brooklyn that has a gajillion dollars in cap space, like 50 something million in cap space. Then you have, then after that, you're looking at like Detroit could, if they renounce Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway and a couple like smaller free agents, then they could have like 25 million. And then you look at like Utah, if Collins, like if Collins like opts out, then, which I don't think he's probably going to opt out, then they would have cap space. So you're probably looking at like the Nets, possibly the Pistons, if they think the player that they would trade for into that cap space is better than a Malik Beasley or Tim Hardaway. So if you're trying to get Derrick White in Dallas, what?
For the Celtics to trade with the Nets, like for them to, hey, take this contract off of our hands into your cap space. The Celtics, they own their pick this year. It's the 28th pick. After the draft, they do own their 2026 pick. Like they could give them that pick, and because they'll not have Jason Tatum. That would be a really interesting piece. They also have a 2031 they could trade, and so they do have a couple of firsts they can attach to him, which would be really interesting. But that 2026 pick with them not having Jason Tatum is actually really interesting.
Yeah. So then it's the question of how many picks are you willing to give up for Derrick White? 1, 2, one of your own, and then the Lakers pick. So here's the deal. If you make it a 3-team deal, Derrick White to Dallas, Gafford and PJ to Boston, and then Porzingis, Omax, a Dallas first and the Lakers first to Brooklyn. So now you would have to
2 firsts and PJ and Gafford for Derrick White.
Yeah.
And Omax. Can't forget Omax.
Omax, yeah.
I'm out on that at that point.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not saying I'm down for it. I'm just saying these are the type of deals that I think if Boston is trading Derrick White, I think they're going to want not just salary cap relief. I think they're going to want at least a pick or two from someone. So you'd have to split that trade up because they couldn't aggregate and all the stuff. But some of this is timing of it. We're not going to get into the details of the timing of waiting until the new year of the NBA and all that stuff. But that's a type of deal. I think you could talk just straight up Dallas, Boston. And I mean, you already said no to this, but Gafford, PJ, and 2 firsts for Derrick White. I think there's one camp that's like, hey, Boston's trying to shed money. Why are we giving up 2 firsts? So like they want to shed
Yeah,
money.
that's
first.
what I would say.
But I think there's another camp of Dallas of saying, would you be a better win now team if you had Derrick White instead of like a PJ and a Gafford? I think that's I think it's probably closer than what some would think, even though I love Derrick White, but I wouldn't do that either. I don't think.
And I'm not super into trading first, especially the Mavs first with Cooper Flagg, right? Like I went through his timeline a couple of one more things ago, and you just start to look through and you're like, man, he's going to hit his second contract in the NBA, be in like his fourth year when he's 23 in like 2000, like 30, you know, or whatever. It's like, it's going to be insane how long the runway is now. And it's just very different looking at what this team was. 4 weeks ago, I'd be like, yes, let's do it. Derrick White, go for it. Trade the picks, trade whatever, because right now is what you've got. The good thing about Derrick White, though, is he's signed this year, or he signed 3 more years, so 28 million, 30 million, 32 million. So he is under contract, which is nice. But all of a sudden, then you re-sign Kyrie, you have Derrick White, you have Anthony Davis. You kind of become what the Nuggets are looking at right now, cap wise, and that makes it really tough too, and way less flexible. But coming up, let's get into some other trades. Let's talk about Jrue Holiday. Is there a palatable trade for Jrue Holiday? We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds to get you into the action. The Pacers just absolutely ripped the heart out of Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks, which is wild. I was rooting for Brunson at the beginning of the game, and I ended up rooting for Rick Carlisle's Pacers at the end of that game one. And now the Pacers are minus 168, Isaac, to win this series. They are now the favorite. They have game 2 odds. You ready for this? Knicks at home. Guess the line on FanDuel.
Knicks at home, I'm going to say minus 4.5.
Knicks minus 6. That they'll bounce back in this one. Fascinating. Thunder minus 7.5 in this game 2 that's coming up on Thursday night against the Timberwolves. All kinds of stuff like that. You can check it out. They also have WNBA odds. Paige Becker's got her first double-double last night. All kinds of great stuff. New to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad. That's what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We have a text line, 214-643-8637. We'll send you every single Mavs rumor that we see. We'll send you every news alert straight to your phone. We'll do Q&As. You can text us 2 weeks free, and then you can support the show after that. Isaac, do you know who's passed us in text line subscribers on the network?
It better not be David Locke.
No, it's not David Locke. He had to bow out of the program. Buffalo Bills is number 1, which okay, fine. Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, number 1 in amount of text line subscribers. So we're trying to beat them. So help us do that. It also helps support the show. We'll be doing some fun stuff on there. 214-643-8637. All right. We've been talking about trades for the Boston Celtics because they've got to do something with this tax, the salary cap, the aprons, all the kitchen appliances, whatever you want to call the things. They've got to figure something out. Jason Tatum out next year. We've been talking about Derrick White trades. He would solve a lot of things for the Mavericks. I wouldn't do the PJ Gafford and 2 firsts one that you proposed earlier. What else you got?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. But could they ship Gafford and possibly Omax to get another first to where they're only including one of their first? So what if they called up Brooklyn? Brooklyn has 4 first-round draft picks this coming draft. They have 25, 26, and then they have the 19th pick, and then they have that top 10 pick. So what if they called up Brooklyn and said, hey, 8th. There you go. And they said, hey, you have $50-something million in cap space. Instead of adding a 4th rookie on your team, would you like to have Daniel Gafford and Omax? And let's say Brooklyn's like, yeah, we'll take the swing on Omax. We liked him. And Daniel Gafford, sure, come be our starting center. And maybe they ship off Claxton or whatever. Then you get the 19th pick back. So then you look at Boston and you said, all right, we'll send you PJ, pick 19, and one of our first to Boston for Derrick White. Now that gets Boston down to like the 6 million under the second apron, or over the second apron. So they'd still have to do a move after that, but it gets them a lot closer than 20 million. And they're adding PJ and then the 19th pick and then that future first 2. Would you do that one?
Just solely because I would hate to see PJ Washington in a Celtics uniform.
Oh,
that would hurt my soul. That would hurt my soul a little bit. That one is definitely more palatable because if you think about it, the Mavs are gonna have to do something with PJ and Gafford. I know we don't want to trade them. I did the show. Is it smarter to trade one or the other? And there's just a lot of feedback about how we just don't want to trade either of them. Yeah, I get it. They both are on expiring deals this year. There's a possibility they lose both of them. Right? If they don't figure out some kind of extension, because I don't think that the Mavs are going to want to offer PJ the amount he's going to want. Gafford the same thing, because two of your best, two of your starters are centers, basically. And so this, at least you bring Derrick White in, you fill a position of need, and you get somebody that's signed for 3 years. I could see the Mavs doing this because it's kind of like the Caleb Martin trade where you're like, all right, let's get somebody that's signed and is there long term. We don't have to figure out signing, because this front office has not been great at retaining talent. I don't know if you've seen what's happening in the Eastern Conference Finals right now.
Yes, I have. Here's another Derrick White trade, and let's loop in Detroit here. Let's say Detroit says, hey, instead of bringing back Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway, we'd rather take back this trade package.
Are we getting Timmy back?
No. So Dallas would get Derrick White and Isaiah Stewart.
Beef stew. They were interested in him before. There was rumors about him at the trade deadline.
Detroit gets PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. So they Gafford to back up Duran. They get PJ to step in to be their starting three,
nice
maybe
for them.
Maybe the four, whatever. He would be really good for them. And then Boston would get Caleb Martin and a couple of picks. So maybe one. Wait, why are you laughing?
Boston would get Caleb Martin, which is hilarious because he ripped our heart out in that Eastern Conference Finals. All those threes that he hit that one game. You remember that?
Yes, I do. So if you're Detroit, would you rather have Isaiah Stewart and Malik Beasley and Tim, I guess, or PJ and Daniel Gafford?
Man, PJ and Gafford would be so good for them.
They would. Anyway, that's some Derrick White stuff.
Gafford and Cade would work almost just like Luka and Gafford, right? Like,
yeah. Can I throw at you a Jrue Holiday trade? I have one for you.
Yeah, coming up. Let's get into Jrue Holiday trades. What does Jrue Holiday do for the Mavericks? Is there any kind of palatable trade for him? Let's talk about that and more coming up. All right, Isaac, we're talking trades. We're dishing it up, chopping it up. What do you got trade-wise?
Listen,
also, by the way, we just opened up our Locked On mock draft. Maybe the easiest selection we've ever done. We always spend so much time on the phones talking to other shows. Like we do a draft where each show represents their team. And this is the quickest one we got. This is the quickest one we've ever done.
Yeah, y'all can keep on picking, guys. We got our guy at one.
Kind of set there.
All right, so for you guys have been wanting the trade pod. I mean, this is your pod right here. So we're trying to take advantage of Boston wanting to shed money. They probably won't be able to dump Porzingis' $30 million expiring. They're probably going to move down to Jrue Holiday after that. So let's loop in Detroit again. So let's say Detroit does the same thing. Hey, we'd rather take our chances on this trade instead of bringing Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway back. So Detroit would get PJ Washington and 1 first from Dallas. Boston would get Gafford, which takes them to about $2 million over the second apron. Dallas would get Jrue Holiday and pick 37 from Detroit, an early second round pick.
Oh, I hate this one the most. I hate this one.
Really?
I'm not for Jrue Holiday, especially giving up. Okay. Is it which first are you giving up in that scenario?
So it's PJ Gafford and I don't know.
2025 first.
Shut up. I mean, you could wait until the year starts again in the summer and do the 2026 pick. You could do the Lakers pick in 2029. I'm not going to touch the 31 pick.
That's the thing. Jrue Holiday is going to be 35 in June, right?
Yeah. So it's like PJ Gafford and the Lakers pick. Let's just say that.
I don't like that one. I don't like
that for Jrue and the 37th pick in the draft this year.
I like Derrick White because in 4 years, when Cooper Flagg is like ready to be like the next level of whatever NBA player he's going to be, at least Derrick White will still be. He'll be Jrue Holiday right now. Who's still a good NBA player. I'm not trying to say Jrue Holiday is not a good NBA player anymore, but he's not changing. He's not completely changing the Mavs world as much as Derrick White would for the next 3 years.
That's true. Maybe you can do this without giving up the first. Would you do PJ and Gafford for Jrue?
No,
Okay.
no, I would
All right.
not. Would you?
God, you hate Jrue.
A little bit.
For me, with the Jrue stuff, it depends on PJ's extension. If PJ says no, I don't want to sign an
Yeah, he
extension
becomes
right
Quentin
now,
Grimes.
and I want guaranteed starter minutes, all the stuff, then I'm entertaining that for sure. Because you can't lose PJ for nothing. You can't lose people for nothing anymore. Let me give you a Pritchard trade, and I'll save the end of the pod for just an insane trade.
Jrue Holiday averaged 11 points a game.
Don't be taking shots at Jrue Holiday. I love Jrue Holiday. All right, let me do a smaller trade, and I'll save the big one for the end.
Second team all defense in 2024.
There you go.
Great.
Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
If they dump Peyton Pritchard, they still have like 11, 12 million. They got to do after that. They could maybe try to find somebody to take Hauser to get them really close to that number. But they can't like put 2 and 2 together. Like they can't trade Pritchard and Hauser to Dallas because they can't combine salaries like that.
They're literally not allowed to because of the rules.
Yeah. So Boston has or Brooklyn has those picks in the 20. What if it's just a straight 3-way swap here? Pritchard to Dallas, Gafford to Brooklyn, pick 27 to Boston.
Man, Pritchard for Gafford, basically, right?
Yep. And Brooklyn's saying, we'll give you the 27th pick for Daniel Gafford.
Peyton Pritchard is a really interesting one. He was in the running for Sixth Man of the Year. He was drafted in 2020, but he's 27 years old now. Like he's a little bit older than you would think because he came into the NBA older. But he was lights out from 3. 8 threes a game he took, and he shot 40% on them, 14 points a game. He would be that fill-in stopgap guy. And if you don't think you're going to keep Gafford, I know there's someone screaming at me like, you can't get rid of Gafford. Blah, blah, blah. Like, what if you may lose him? Like, you could lose him for nothing.
Let me just say this. I don't understand that you can't get rid of Gafford thing. You're committed to Derek Lively, right? So you are committed to this big front court of Lively and Anthony Davis. So Gafford is going to come off the bench. Do you want a starting point guard before Kyrie comes back, or do you want a third center to come off the bench? Because Anthony Davis is still going to get minutes at the 5. Lively is your starting center. So I love Daniel Gafford too, and it would be great to keep him in Dallas, but you got to give up something to get a starting caliber or fill-in type of point guard that they need until Kyrie Irving comes back. This is why I would do this deal. I would swap out Gafford for Pritchard, and especially he makes what, $7 or $8 million over the next handful of years. It's a pretty good number. I think there's bigger believers in Pritchard out there, but I think would be good in that role of what they need.
Yeah, he comes in, he spot starts, and then when Kyrie comes back, he comes off the bench, and he would be great off the bench. He was almost Sixth Man of the Year this year. He was Sixth Man of the Year. He was Sixth Man of the Year this one. Yeah.
Okay.
The awards, they gotta announce the awards before the season ends. It just that during the playoffs, it's like, oh, cool, I forgot about that. Oh, I don't even know who won Most Improved this year.
Oh, I don't know. I saw SGA's MVP speech and
Dyson Daniels, great barrier thief.
Cool.
Great.
I heard a whistle. Yeah, I heard a whistle in the back of that MVP speech, and they called a foul on the trophy, and I was like, whoa. Anyway, all right. So let's say Dallas goes big time swing. I mean, Boston goes, this is our time to trade Jaylen Brown.
Let's reset, yeah.
And let's reset it. And we got it's $60 million basically, 54 I think next year for him. And I think there would be other teams that would outbid Dallas. I think Houston would come in and all this stuff. But let's just say Jalen's like, I want to play with Kyrie again in Dallas. Nico and the guys are like, we want Jaylen Brown. He's young enough. He would be that star. Could we pair Jaylen Brown with AD, Cooper Flagg, and Kyrie Irving and try to like have this four for the next handful of years? So how do you do that? Well, here we go. Now, the timing of this, you'd have to get into the offseason because you would dip below a certain amount of players, and then you'd have to do some finagling with some of this. But here we go. Jaylen Brown to Dallas. PJ O'Max, Max Christie, the 2026 Mavs first, the 2029 Lakers first to Boston. So if you're Boston gets 2 first-round draft picks out of this. They move under the second apron, and they swap out Jaylen Brown for PJ Washington, Omax, and Max Christie. Now, they can probably do better than that from like a Houston or somebody.
How does the salary work out?
The third team in this would be Brooklyn, and Brooklyn would get Gafford, Caleb Martin, Jaden Hardy, and the 2031 Mavs first.
Yikes.
So Dallas is basically giving up 6 players in this and 3 first for Jaylen Brown for the opportunity to have a rotation of Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, Clay, Najee, minimums off the bench.
I don't think in 2025, I understand the players you're putting together. And Jaylen Brown is, 28, going to be 29. I understand that. I don't think you can do 3 maxes together and have a good team at all. It's just,
okay. Could
hard.
you do, once again, I'm not saying I would fully do this. I would understand the mindset of it. But could you do 3 maxes if your next 2 guys,
the other 2 starters are on rookie deals?
Cooper Flagg and Derek Lively on rookie deals.
The problem is the rookie deal that Cooper Flagg's getting is $13 million. It's not like nothing, but you could try. It's just
swapping out 6 players and 3 first for Jaylen Brown. You probably have to bring in a 4th team somehow, but you still keep Derek Lively in that. You still have Clay and Najee coming off the bench. You probably get some, minimums in there from some people.
Jaylen Brown, Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively lineup is so big to start.
Jaylen Brown and Kyrie are buds.
Back again, yeah.
Maybe there's bad blood though with Nike still.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Mavs have Nike ties. Is that like a?
Ooh, I don't know. Did they hire anybody from? So that one's probably too crazy. There's probably some financial thing that somebody's yelling at me in the comments like, "You missed this restriction that makes this," and I probably am. But you definitely have to do it.
Mavs. Shout out to CBA Mavs for fact checking all your stuff today.
You probably have to do it, you definitely have to do it once the league year started and all that. But I think the most realistic, if we're looking at through all of these trades, I think the most realistic one, you're looking at like a Peyton Pritchard type of deal. If Boston says, "Hey, we really just don't want to trade one of the big money guys. We think we can really get close to squeak under the second apron by trading Peyton Pritchard, Hauser, and like another contract and squeak under it, keep the other guys and go from there." I think if that's the case, the Gafford for Pritchard type of deal and Gafford goes to Brooklyn, I think it's realistic. And I do think there's some type of Jrue Holiday type of trade that I could see Dallas being interested in that would cost, a couple of those players. It wouldn't cost a ton of picks. I don't think Dallas is doing that. So I don't know. I think it's definitely harder for, a lot of people are throwing out Boston trades right now. And it's like, you got to remember the purpose for Boston trades is for them to save money. And the only way for them to save money is by not taking all this money back. So, and it feels like they want to save money like next year. So in this Tatum, off year, gap year, or whatever it is. So for them to do that, they got to find some way to shed some of this money to a Brooklyn or a Detroit, or they got to find a team that will send other money to them to get at, all the stuff. So there you go. I don't love a ton of them, but I think there are a few in there, especially Jrue, Peyton Pritchard, that I could see them making work.
I don't have to tell you, but you're letting us know what you think about in the comments on YouTube. You can also let us know at Locked On Mavs on Instagram and on Twitter as well, and on TikTok as well. Locked On Mavs, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll have more episodes tomorrow. I'll be on with Locked On Blue Devils host JJ Jackson talking about Cooper Flagg again. I'm almost tired of talking to
Cooper again. Come on, Nick.
Never. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.